Hey folks, it's Bear Gardener here with yet another cards video. So as ever, cards content creator, all of that stuff, I'm not going to hang around on that too long because there's a different kind of a video. So I haven't really gotten round to this yet, but I've said repeatedly on stream and in various Discord chats that I would do. So, with the advent of the changes that have come out with United Front around the pre-release and things that are going on, there has been some concern, and I do understand it, over some of the choices that have been made. So, as someone who is representative, at least quite regularly, of particularly the new player part of the community, but generally I try and be accessible to the cards community in general, I kind of feel like I should probably say something. Now, J King's already said some stuff about this at the end of his video, which I will link down below. You kind of need to go to the end for that, but really you should watch the whole video because it's really cool. And other people have posted stuff in various Discord threads, particularly in suggestions, and conversations have been had, and I've mentioned some stuff on stream, but the meat of the issue here seems twofold. So firstly, there's the pre-order thing, and I'm going to deal with the pre-order thing in a way that not everybody is necessarily going to love, but I think is logical and process-wise. So, the idea of a pre-order, of people being able to get access to some shiny new stuff a bit earlier than everyone else, is not non-standard in any kind of mobile or digital gaming industry. And the reality is that as markets change, Cards is going to have to lean more and more towards the idea of being more on market to make sure that the company continues to make money enough to be able to support the game. And also, factual statement, right now the game appears, from the financials from Cards, those that I've seen that were the public financials, and general understanding, to be somewhat under-monetized. Now, that's not the end of the world, there are ways to fix that, but because the game has been so free-to-play friendly for so long, it's always going to be difficult when you see a lean towards things that want to have you spend money. I've said endlessly that I think the Battle Pass is good value and is probably the best way to put money into the game if that's something that you want to do, and I genuinely mean that, because if you want to see the game continue and financially support 1939, that's the best way to do it. If you have personal protest reasons for not doing that over whatever part of what's going on, that's a totally different question. But the health of the game is going to depend on some degree of financial income and increase in value. The question here for me is not about the idea of monetization, but how that monetization works and how that monetization works in a competitive game. Now, I'm not a competitive player. I don't climb ladder. I don't aim to enter tournaments. I've said openly before, it's something that I know I could very well do. I've done my couple of runs to prove to myself that I'd be capable of getting into the top 32 or the top 10 or wherever I wanted to go if I wanted to. But I don't. It's really that simple. I have no desire to do it, so I don't do it. And generally that means I don't talk a lot too detailedly about the competitive scene. However, in this particular instance, it bleeds from the competitive scene into the rest of the game, so I am going to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it in a very particular way, and I'm going to explain why I'm talking about it in that particular way, because I think it is only reasonable that I make my position clear so that everybody understands where I'm speaking from. I am presently really quite stuck in the middle, because I love the cards community, I love all of the people who support me, and I want to make sure that they get the best experience that they can. However, I also have good friends at 1939 who I talk to regularly, who talk to me about more than just cards, who talk to me about life, who have been supportive through all sorts of different things, who have thrown bits of ideas and possibilities and support and even the potential of work at me. So there is a relationship on both sides. Because of that, I also think I can give a relatively balanced view, I hope, on where things are and where I personally would like to see things go. To be clear, despite being in internal testing, despite having friends at 1939. I have no influence over this. This is just my thought coming out here. Also, to be clear, this was not cleared with 1939. I did not talk to anybody about the fact that I'm going to do this, and I don't. My content is from me to the community for anyone in the community or at 1939 to view and to take, and then you can come and talk to me about it. Because that's what adults do. But the other thing is that adults talk civilized ways. We discuss things in a civilized way, talk civilized ways. You can tell that I'm passionate about a subject when I misspeak. Adults discuss things in a civilized manner. And this is something that I find very, very important. Right, let's get to the crux of this. How do I feel about the pre-order? On the face of it, I'm actually fine with the fact that you can pre-order the cards. It doesn't bother me at all. I actually think it's perfectly reasonable monetization. But I have a problem with the fact that those cards are able to be used competitively. I personally think the pre-order should have been in some way restricted. Now, I've heard people talk about trying to arrange queues so that you can only play against other people who have the pre-order card. It's a ridiculous idea. Sorry, but it is. In such a small game, there is just not enough of a player base that that's going to work. However, what could have been done was to limit the number of ways that you can competitively use the new cards from United Front for the 6 days that they are available on pre-order. In particular, if you are looking to find your way into the next seasonal tournament, this could be an edge. Now, first of all, I want to be very, very clear. I personally am not of the opinion that it can be a good enough edge on ladder. It just can't. Ladder is an open format and one set of cards. Unless somehow one deck becomes insanely powerful from only an ally, and it hasn't to my experience so far, the deck most people were most worried about, I have played quite a lot of, and I've done well on it, but I'm still not hitting insane win rates. And it doesn't feel like it just rolls over everything, there are bad matchups. However, where it is a problem is where there isn't a catch-up mechanism. So on ladder, there's a catch-up mechanism. If you lose ELO. You lose your rating points. However, in tournament play, you don't. If you lose a tournament, no one cares. If you play 400 tournaments and win 120, that's probably enough to get you in top 8. That's not, notwithstanding anything else, that's a fairly terrible way of qualifying for any kind of competitive play, because ultimately it boils down to, can you play enough tournaments to bounce through it? That's not healthy. There should be a balancing system in there. However, there isn't, and that leads to the pre-order problem, because actually if there was a balancing system in tournaments, I'd be making exactly the same argument about tournaments, which is there's a catch-up mechanism, there's a penalty for losing. There isn't a penalty for losing in tournaments. You can just spam Blitz and Iron tournaments as long as you can find the gold to do it. And that means that if you have even the smallest edge from something like a deck or a set of cards that are a little bit more powerful, that edge becomes exponentially increased because there is no penalty for the games you lose other than time. That is my opinion. That is the thing that I would like to see changed. I have no problem at all, and I really don't fully understand why other people do, with the idea of someone being able to pre-order and play the cards to mess around with in ranked or whatever else, as long as there is a catch-up mechanism. As long as A, you balance the cards, and I've gone on record as saying I think this patch is for the most part quite well balanced. This expansion is not egregious to me. There are a couple of quite strong cards that might get a tweak, but there's nothing that I personally consider overly broken yet. But as long as that balance exists and there is a catch-up mechanism in any climbable format, I don't care. You can pre-order as much as you like because that makes sense. Anyway, so that's where I stand on pre-orders. People have asked me repeatedly. That is my answer. Do I have a problem with 1939 setting up a financial incentive for people to get product ahead of time? Absolutely not, no. I really don't. It's just part of business. I may not like it, but the reality is that business has to follow a model that works, and the current model goes in that direction, and 1939 are going to have to do that in some way. Right. On to the next parts of this discussion, because otherwise we could go round and round in circles for this. My next point is, as I said, that I would like to see the change adjusted so that there isn't a way to competitively advantage. Now, you could just set it so that you can only play the pre-ordered cards in casual. That's actually a fairly terrible idea, in my opinion. I think it is much better to bring the tournament system into a position whereby you actually lose points for dropping tournaments in some way. Even if you floor at 0, once you've gotten on the ladder, you should lose something for not progressing in some staged way. I'm not going to sit here and try and work that number out, although if somebody from 1939 wants me to sit down and talk with them about ways that we could maybe scale that, I'd be happy to, as would I suspect a number of other competitive players. But the reality is, it needs a balancing system for this reason, because right now it is painfully unbalanced. It is by far your most efficient way of qualifying for competitive play if you're prepared to put the time in and can generate the in-game resources, which is never healthy because you don't necessarily have to be that good, and in a competitive environment that's not helpful. Right, that's it, that's me done. Those are my opinions on that. Moving on to the other half of this, which I know is the half that I think a lot of people would expect me to have stuff to say on, and I do. The portraits and the way they've been implemented. I love the fact that we have a new player profile. I love the fact that we have new cosmetics. I love the fact that we have new ways for players to kind of individualize on the game. I think that's fantastic. I think a lot of the new UI stuff looks incredibly good. The new game intro screen with the goes first and the efficiency and the portrait coming over. So much of this has been done incredibly well. I cannot emphasize enough how much I appreciate the effort that 1939's team have put into the quality of this implementation. And I honestly think many of us in this community need to take a breath, get past the part that is a problem, and I'm going to get to that, and look at the rest of it and realize the passion that 1939's core team have for this game. It is clear that they care about this game feeling and looking and playing well. They care about animations, they care about sound effects, they care about having this game look good. Other than, by the way, can we make the Danuta actually sound like an armoured train? Because it's a bit wimpy right now. But where the issue comes in, and it is the issue that is being talked about, is the way that the new portraits that you gain from nation levels that you can use as your avatar have been implemented, and the fact that they have overridden wildcards, and in particular, or rather rewards, and in particular, they have overridden the level 150 wildcard, which is an elite wildcard. This is not healthy for the free-to-play part of the game. Now, it might be that 1939's intent is to do that, but I'm not sure it really is. It wouldn't fit with the people that I know in the company that they would want to do that. I suspect that this is just not understanding the impact that that one elite wildcard, from the point of view of that which you want to climb to, can have, nor the bad feel that people who've come before you have been able to access a wildcard that you can't. Right. I don't think this is hugely difficult to fix. I honestly believe the fix is to see it rolled back to see either the portrait given as well as the wildcard, which I personally think would be incredibly reasonable for good break points on it, even if it means you move the portraits to be a little bit harder to get to, and move them to the 50 and 100 marks and double them up with the rewards so that it feels like you're getting something even more with it. That is still better than removing actual in-game progress. Tapering the rewards for nation levels is obviously something that is going to happen, because as the game expands and grows, there will be things that change. Is the amount of diamonds that get given out, or the amount of gold that gets given out. Diamonds only, of course, being given out at the very limited levels already, for the simple reason that it's nice to have some when you're a new player, but they're meant to be a premium currency. So you don't want everyone having piles of them and constantly getting them. Gold balanced out by the effects going forward with the way that you complete your missions for the day and all of your daily win stuff. This is all absolutely fine. I get that has to happen. That one elite wildcard may not seem like much, but when you are a new player, that 150 mark is really cool to aim for, because you're going to get another wildcard, another elite wildcard that lets you get closer to the deck that you want to play free to play, and that can actually be positive. That can engage people more in the game. I don't think it's going to break the market for people investing money in the game. Money in the game is a complex issue, which I might get to in a minute. But anyway, that's where I stand on it. But the second half of where I stand on it, and this is where it is really important to understand that you guys as a community, every one of you that follows and likes and subscribes and just watches my videos or interacts with me on Discord, chats with me when I'm on stream, or just messages me off stream, you are people I care about. However, many of you right now are not going about this in a useful way. There is far, far too much accusation, swearing, ranting, overstatement being thrown around to be productive. If you want a company like 1939 to change something, you state your case as clearly and concisely as you can, while being calm and polite while passionate, which, by the way, is pretty much what I'm demonstrating here. I care about this. You can probably tell by the tone of my voice. You can certainly tell by the fact that I am recording this Saturday evening, having streamed for over 7 hours yesterday, then streamed for another 2.5 today, plus living my life with my illnesses. I've taken the time after a stream to do this because I care, and you can tell from the tone of my voice and the fact that I'm doing this that it's important. So I'm pleading with you as a community to breathe before typing. I'm not removing your right to be annoyed. You absolutely have that. We all have emotional reactions to things. However, direct release of our emotional reactions, which is very easy on the internet because you can't see the person you're impacting, so you effectively, there's a whole psychology thing on the fact that it actually numbs your reception and therefore kills compassion. It's been researched, it's a thing. We can do better. So if you are going to support this point, and you should, if you believe it, you should take the time to go and comment on one of the threads. And Yet It Moves and Penny have both dropped threads in the suggestions point in the Cards main Discord. If you want to make a point about this, please do it by going to those threads and just politely stating that you agree with the point, that this is a problem for you and that you'd like it to be changed, and then leave it there. Don't make accusations about greed. Don't make accusations about wallet emptying. Don't make accusations about FOMO marketing or anything else unless you have empirical evidence to support the accusation. And no, your views, by the way, of what you're seeing don't constitute empirical evidence. Mine don't either. I have literally no empirical evidence with regards to the actual financial structure or process that's going on at 1939 because I'm not privy to it, nor do I have the right to be, nor do any of us. But we do have the right to state when we think something is a problem and expect to be heard. However, as someone who has gone through responses and feedback to events and processes and ideas in the past, I will tell you for free, the moment you get the I'm angry, ranty thing on it, you really just bypass it. You just skip and move on to the next one, because it is just not worth the feels bad when you have dozens or however many more of them to go through. The ones you pay attention to, as I say, are the ones that are kind of concisely and politely stated. Do I think this needs to change? Absolutely I do. I am not a fan of this. I do not think it was a particularly good implementation, and I would like to see it changed. I don't know whether it will be, but I think it would be positive if it was. Going forward, I would like to see some kind of invitational panel discussion or something similar on those of us who are connected with the community, get us together and ask us to kind of reach out and get an idea of what the community thinks is a good way to spend money. But also, I'm not going to say that you're going to see the end of monetization in cards, because if you think you're going to see the end of monetization in a digitally implemented game that has a team of people who have to earn a living and support themselves, you've missed the point. You've completely missed the point of this video. That's okay, by the way, you can roll on, but if you are of the opinion that literally everything in cards should be equally available free to play to everyone all the time, you kind of have missed the point of what I literally just said. Can't help you with that, not going to try. What I am going to try and do is continue to be a conduit for giving advice. Anyway, for what it's worth, I said I would make my opinions known. These are they. As ever, take care of yourselves, be good humans, and I'll catch you next time.